Up next on Usala Radio, presenting The Wall, a new show for parents and teenagers navigating through difficult topics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Edwin Desamour.
What's up, everybody? This is Edwin Desamour, and you're listening to another edition of The Wall, where we witness achievements through life lessons. And today's special is on Zoom. And we have some great guests today. We have some teachers from Stetson. So thank you for joining us. We have Bethel Temple's finest, Mr. and Pastor Eric Desamour. And we also have the Chicken Hawk and Elijah Des. So real quick before we get started, teachers, we can start off at just introducing yourself real quick and what grade that you teach and what's your study.
All right, so I'm Lauren Valerio, teach at Stetson, fifth grade teacher. I teach ELA and social studies. Went to college at Westchester and have been at Stetson for 4 years now.
Wow, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Alicia Mcgovern. I am a fifth grade teacher at Stetson, self-contained, so I teach all the subjects, and I have been at Stetson for 3 years, graduated from Temple University.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Ms. Levan?
Actually a teacher coach at Stetson, and so I mostly work with the teachers.
Okay, great. And Pastor Desamour?
Teach on Sundays, things like that. But actually, the church is right across the street from Stetson, so it's a close connection in that way.
All right. Well, thank everybody for joining us. We're going to jump right into the topic introduction. Chicken Hawk, let us hear it.
On the wall this week, we are going to be talking about what it's been like to be a teacher during quarantine. For many teachers and students, social distancing has brought about a whole new kind of teaching. If you're a parent, you already know how difficult it is to have your kids at home and suddenly be a teacher. If you're a teacher, you've entered a whole new world of education. What it's like for our teachers as they start to navigate teaching in 2020. Remember, the end of the show should be the beginning of your conversation. Don't be afraid to tear down the wall.
Remember that, folks, the end of the show should be the beginning of your conversation. So we're going to start right off into some random questions. So please have fun with us, all right? And be as honest as you can, all right? If you could live in any TV family home,
Ooh.
Which would it be and why? Think of sitcoms and families.
Family home.
My first one, I would have to be in one of the Modern Family houses. I think they're just crazy and, just honest and hysterical, and you never know what crazy thing they're going to get into. So definitely a Modern Family home for me.
Okay, nice. And you're going to be definitely laughing all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have to say Full House, because I have a big family also, as far as a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins, and we were always really close and people coming and going, and I just love how they talk things out and they hug things out, and it's very similar to my family. So,
and they clean things out for sure.
And they clean, yes.
Which I've gotten very good at over this quarantine life.
Yes.
I think everybody's an expert now. We can put that on our resume.
Yes, perfect.
Anybody else?
I'd probably say Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Ooh.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun. Always into something.
That's good. That is good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
One of the greatest moments when the uncle says to Will, when Will's like crying and he's like, "Why am I not good enough?" to the uncle, that always sticks in my head with Fresh Prince.
Wow. Well, yeah, that was a serious episode.
Yeah.
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 So what sticks in my head is the Carlton dance.
Yes.
It's just a little different.
Eric?
I don't know, the first family that popped in my head was Flintstones, but that's not a real thing. I mean,
The Flintstones?
you know, Fred Flintstone and yeah, but I don't know. Yeah,
Okay. Chicken Hawk.
I think that was it.
I don't know.
You don't know? I think it's difficult for kids because you rarely see sitcoms these days. You know, everything is reality shows. Elijah, do you have a family you pick?
I mean, there's this show, like, it's when I was younger on Disney XD. When Disney XD, it's still Disney XD probably. And so there was this show called Crash and Burn. And basically, it was like this family, and it was like this kid. He grew up because he always wanted a brother. And then one day he went to like this like place where you get dolls, and it was like a girly place for his birthday. And so he just created this thing on this machine where I gave you a doll. And it turned out he made like this puppet that was alive and stuff. And so he called him Crash. And Crash started living with him and everything. And so it was like a bunch of wacky stories and stuff. And I remember always watching it and laughing because of the dumb stuff they did at school and all that. And so just thinking about that, that was really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
I know.
Well, mine is kind of. Go ahead, Chicken Hawk. What did you say?
I think it's the TV show is called Richie Rich.
Richie Rich? Oh, wow.
It's about
That's a good
kid
one.
That they use vegetables, so he combined them to make a weird science thing. He sold it for like millions of dollars, and then he lived in a huge house.
That's
Richie Rich. That's a good one. All right. I'll probably get dorkish, and I don't know how you guys will probably remember this, but probably Happy Days.
okay.
Yeah.
The Cunninghams were a good family to live with. Very supportive. So I really like that old TV show.
Mhm.
All right. Well, Elijah, you want to give us the weekly update?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. Philly's violent year continues with deadly shooting in Kensington. A man in his early 20s was shot yesterday on E. Madison Avenue. He was taken to Temple Hospital but was pronounced dead around 2:45 p.m. This is the 111th reported homicide in Philly for the year so far. Remember, reported. Today is the 108th day of the year. We have had a bit more than an average of one homicide per day this year.
Mhm.
2020 is set to be the most violent year in the city since 2007. Mayor Kennedy's managing director, Brian Abernathy, was quoted as saying, "Violence is not new in the city. Unfortunately, while our overarching crime rates are down, we recognize our violent crime rate is up."
So why do you think violent crimes continue as though nothing happens? Like, does anybody want to give their opinion on it? Why do we think violent crime is still continuing, especially with the epidemic that we're dealing with? We're averaging a little bit more than one homicide per day in our communities, in our area. And especially, I just want to say for folks that listen to the show, our teachers at the end of the day, what I'm about to say, and please take this very not please don't get offended, but they literally spend more time with our children than we do, and they love our children just as their own. So and I work with most of these teachers and pretty much all of them here on the show, that they feel the pain and they worry about our children that are living in the midst of all this. So just wanted to put that out there, that they're not just concerned for their own children, their own family, but they're concerned for our students also in the neighborhoods that they live. So anybody has any opinions on why is this continuing?
I mean, I think right now, for some people, it's just about trying to get out of the house because you're stuck inside all the time. And when you have nothing to do, you try to naturally find something to do. So leave if you can. And some people are just not following the social distancing thing because they're so bored.
I think that fear also a lot of people are feeling a lot of fear during this time, no matter who it is, kids, adults, just the uncertainty. So that can maybe cause some fear. And it's hard that that uncertainty and fear can lead to such horrific actions, but
yeah,
hard.
I agree. I mean, I also think that fear and that uncertainty can then escalate things more than usual, possibly. And lead to that anger, and you're feeling all these emotions inside, so then you're going to act out or lash out in one way, shape, or form. So that could also possibly be a cause as well.
That's a really good point, Valerio. Is all that buildup of being home, and then you get out and you don't really know how to act appropriately.
Mm-hmm. And especially if
your own head.
Yeah.
Not for some people.
Mm-hmm. Especially depending on what is happening in your house, right? And you take what's happening in your house and that more uncertainty and this additional craziness and epidemic and everything, so that can escalate it even more.
When you really, I probably throw a little twist to this. When you really think about it, we're losing more people here in Philly per day than the virus, right? But it seems like folks are more scared of this virus than the violence that's going on, right? I think the virus we could look at is wow, I could catch this. But then when we look at the violence going on in our communities, we look at it as well, this can't happen to me.
I think that has to do with location, right? The virus can go wherever it wants to go. And it's okay, as long as I avoid this part of Philly or this part of the town, right, then I won't get caught up in it. And it's just a whole different twist to it because it doesn't have boundaries, right? It's just depending on everyone who you interact with.
Yeah.
Whole mindset of people have that mindset that, well, it doesn't affect me. So with the virus, they think, oh, this could affect me. But with the homicides, they're thinking, well, I'm not near there. And it's not good thinking. It's not correct thinking, but that's probably how people are thinking.
Well, the other thing that was interesting about that too is that they said that in general crime was down, but violent crimes are exactly the same as they always were. And that's the part that I found interesting. You just can't fix that.
Any thoughts on that, Elijah?
I think that a lot of it still happens, and the most we try to stop it. A lot of people try to stop it, the government and everything, but it's just still gonna keep on happening because everything happens right where we don't know where it happens. It happens when we don't know what happens. There's so much stuff that we're clueless about. Man, all the talk, mafia, blah, 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 a bunch of other stuff, like secret and stuff, and just drugs these days. You don't know, violence leads from drugs a lot of the time, drug deals gone wrong, all that. And it's just a lot of stuff, kind of like stuff right out of an action movie or whatever. A lot of stuff can go wrong from some random things that we don't think can affect us or anybody else. The littlest thing. And the thing is that a lot of people like to overreact, especially with the virus that's happening now. So that's really our weakness now, is that we overreact too much. And so I feel like a lot of reasons violence happens, a lot of reasons death happens is because people like to overreact during a lot of these things. Over the littlest things, they overreact. Did you hear about the dude who got stabbed over Popeye's chicken sandwich?
Yeah.
That was insanely dumb. Like I said, we have a big thing to overreact, and that's what leads to a lot of violence with us. Yeah, this is.
Yeah. Eric?
No, man, it's kind of hard. I think people just have uncertainty, and they, they trying to survive, and sometimes, they still have a mentality where, they need to get what they, so it might be fear, I think. I mean, it's just hard, man, depending on what the situation is, right? Like, people carry anger in them. This virus thing doesn't, eliminate that. So, violence, I don't know, it's just difficult. It depends, I think, on the situation of what, happened between the individuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think.
So kind of hard. I mean, the guys are still out on the block. They're not going anywhere, so they still feel like they. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. Before we move on to the next topic, you know, lately, when you see the news these past couple of months on these random shootings, and now so many innocent people begin caught in the crossfire, especially toddlers. This has been in the news where a 2-year-old kid was killed. Another 3 or 4-year-old was in the back seat of their car, shot because of a shootout. You see on videos where people just pulling out guns, and what that has done for me, even though we were raised in that neighborhood, is that when I'm down in that area now, I do not take regular streets anymore. I take literally avenues because I'm trying to lower the risk of being caught in a drive-by, especially if I'm with my children in the car. So, like, a lot of times I would drive down like a Westmoreland or A Street, just to be driving because I know the neighborhood, I know folks. But then if I have my children with me, I'm kind of paranoid now. So now I refuse. So I start taking the larger streets like B Street, Allegheny, Lehigh, because I'm trying to reduce the risk of being caught in a drive-by, because I think that's the biggest fear that we all have to deal with. Nobody wants to imagine driving and your child being struck with a bullet in the back seat, sitting in their car seat. And then also for the teachers, also I think it's safe to speak for them that every time we hear something in the news, the first thing that comes to their mind are their students. Every time we hear about shooting, and even if it's not a young person, they're wondering, okay, is it their brother? Is it their father, their mother? Because we have to deal with that once they come into the school. And in the school, our kids, they literally come to school the next day. Their brother or mother or parent, and we witnessed that, where they come into school the next day to learn after someone in their family was killed. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, this is straight. Last year, we have like GGA check-in in the morning where, what happened last night? Are you having a 1 good day to a 4? Something awful happened. And I mean, I'm having a 4 because there are, gunshots in my backyard, or I'm having a 4 because my next door neighbor, or something like that, a stabbing in their home that morning. And, they're standing in GGI with their uniform on, like here for school. And you're just like, I mean, that just was one of the biggest shocks that I've, and then you have to, help those kids throughout the day. Then yes, focus on academics, but at the same time, their mind is elsewhere thinking about what's happening outside, which is just awful.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that it is amazing to see, though, when they come in the morning and something drastic did happen, not just the teachers, but the whole school and even their classmates, and everybody, usually chips in and supports that person and helps them through it. And so I think when you hear about that stuff when we're not in school, you worry like, how are they getting the support that they need?
Absolutely. And the structure too, like, I mean, I know from my first year till now, it's just like they so rely on that structure of, okay, I'm coming in GGI, okay, ELA, right? And it's that everyday like normalcy that they have at school that's also just not anywhere near happening now, which is very something to think about.
And I know I'm jumping the gun with them. Thank you for bringing this up, but because we haven't reached that main topic yet. But before we get into the ethical dilemmas, I want to ask that quick question: how many of you this actually have really stressed you out worrying about our children right now, because you're not there to see their physical reactions, how they're feeling emotionally.
Yeah, definitely. I just think like even making those phone calls home to parents where you're letting them know we're going into Google Classrooms now and we're going to be doing Google Hangouts and we'll be able to interact, just like the relief in the parents' voice of like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so glad that they are going to have that opportunity to see you and, you know, see their teachers and see kind of that normal person that they're used to seeing every day. And you hear the kids in the background like, wait, I get to see Miss Orth, like I get to see my teachers, you know, they're excited. And I think that kind of shows that side of them that we don't see at school. You know, we see their hard shell, like, oh, I don't want to go to your classroom, or, you know, because it's that normal thing. And now that they don't have that, they see how important it is. So I'm very curious to see starting Monday how their attitudes are and their work ethic from what it was.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I love that. Yeah, I mean, kind of going from like the hardship piece of things, like I, you know, sent letters home to my kids, and one of my kids were like, Miss V, like I got the envelope, but someone had ripped it open and taken the contents out. And just like seeing that, I was like, oh, so I like sent her another one. She's like, thanks so much for sending it again. Like it was like a little whatever COVID journal thing that I wanted them to keep to, you know, process what's going on. But just the fact that she was like, oh, I'm so excited, like just like getting like a piece of like mail was just like the biggest thing. And I was like, it's the little things now, you know, that, you know, then it's going to hopefully translate into them getting excited to see us in the classrooms.
You know, one thing I can say, I had the opportunity to, you know, be in the area, in the neighborhood, and run into some of our students, and it's pretty interesting how their first reaction is, I miss my teachers. And these are from students who you would actually believe they didn't like their teachers or couldn't stand their teachers. But it's, you know, and it's kind of like they're naming the teachers they always felt like they struggled with. But when you talk to them, you can see the emotions in their face saying, I miss my teacher, I miss my teachers, and or missing the staff. So it's a reality of how much teachers are involved in most of our students' lives, not just being a teacher, but just that solid figure and that person, and that you know, that person that shares that emotion. Well, we're gonna jump on to the next topic real quick. We're gonna have a little bit of fun before people start crying on the screen here. So, ethical dilemmas. Pretend that scientists have discovered that personality traits are partially genetic. They have found that we can remove certain personality traits by using gene therapy. Would it be ethical to edit out negative character traits that harm others, like extreme aggression, compulsive lying, or cruelty? Why or why not?
This is the fun one? Oh my gosh.
It's fun.
Not everybody all at once now.
I know. I have to think about it.
I don't think so, because I think that, you know, we teach about character traits, and we teach about how a character is not just made up of positive character traits. They have some negative character traits too, but it makes them who they are. I understand the danger part, but I think there's, you know, maybe there's other ways to help that rather than just get rid of it. But I don't know. I don't know what the trait is.
Well, I remember, I want to say it's a parable for, I don't remember who it's for, but it basically said that we all have two wolves inside of us. One that is a dark wolf and one that's a light wolf, for lack of a better explanation. And what matters is the one that you feed, not, you know, whether or not you're a good person or a bad person, because we all have that tendency. So I wonder if taking away those bad things would also have a negative impact on the good stuff.
I kind of had two thoughts. It kind of reminded me of like The Giver, where everyone just seemed like, you know, just happy with their life and it's okay. And there was none of that like negativity, and, you know, everything was just like kind of like blah almost. But it's almost like that with those people who feed that, you know, negative wolf. Also, you know, you have the positive people that kind of show up as well to, you know, overcome it or help them along, or however you want to say it. Without that negativity, you know, that positivity might not show as strong because they don't need to be as strong.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Elijah?
I think that would be a good choice in some cases, but at the same time, I really don't like that. It's just like you're changing something. A lot of good stuff has happened because of people being different. That's my, you know what I mean? You're trying to take away oppression, lies. I mean, that would be good, to be honest, but at the same time, a lot of good stuff could be changed. So, I don't know if you get where I'm coming from. A lot of good stuff has came from people who are different, and I feel like just changing that kind of thing is not something that we might want all the time. Aggression, lying, you want to take that all out. I mean, there's going to be cases where you're going to need to lie. There's going to be some cases where you're going to need aggression. I'm just being totally honest. I think that's a horrible choice, and you never want to take that away. You're always going to need that in some point. There's some points where my dad has to get aggressive. But there's also a lot of points where you don't have to need the aggression, and you do not have to lie. So
I also wonder
I don't know.
who
If you
gets
get
to
where
make
I'm
the
coming
decision.
from, then yeah.
Anybody? Chicken Hawk? Any thoughts on that? No? You know, it's pretty interesting when you hear this. This really is an ethical dilemma, because I'm listening to the teachers, but at the same time, it's kind of like we almost do that already. Not us, but society, when we medicate our children. You know, when you have a child come in with certain demeanors or certain attitudes are too hyper, or and the first thing folks will be like, man, that they take their medication today because we're trying to get rid of that negative component, so we could teach, right? Or
I guess that's when we're coming from, like, that's impacting like 25 others, right? It's all yeah, you're right.
Well, I think, like, speaking on students that need medication and those days that they don't have it, I try to, like, switch it on them. Like, you don't need this medication. You know right from wrong. Now you have to try extra hard today because you didn't take your medicine. You know, you're going to get into those bumps and, you know, those times where you're like, rah. And at those times, that's when you take your break. That's when you walk away. So I think if we took away, you know, we're kind of teaching them, like, okay, I have this in me and I need to focus on that and see how I can still be successful, even though I have that, you know, wolf or whatever Athena called it.
Brain matched on the same thing. I mean, I feel like the kids sometimes will come in with the mindset that, well, they didn't take their medication, so, oh, well, this is how they're going to be today. And
right.
It is. We have to tell them, like, well, no, you can still try. You don't have to. I had a kid that would come in anytime he didn't have medicine, and he would walk in first thing, Miss, I didn't take my medicine. This is how I'm going to be today. And I would be like, no, that doesn't mean we're not going to try today. It doesn't mean. So I think that, you know, they get it in their heads, and they can do it. I think the medicine is helpful, but I think that they can do it on their own.
And that's where I wonder, like, what past teachers, like, how past teachers handle it, right? That they're just like, oh, okay, you're off, like, go do this. Not like, okay, yes, you're off, but I'm still gonna hold you accountable for everything we still need to do and act like, you know.
Before medication, before any type of meds were even invented, you know, how did folks deal with that? Eric, I know you're not on that long, but What is your thoughts on this? You know, especially from a pastor, because you can't what's it called? When you cast something out of somebody.
Exorcism.
Yeah.
I think, you know, just this past, you know, few weeks since we got my granddaughter and my daughter home, and I've been doing the morning half of school with them. I just want to say thank you to all the teachers, because that has been interesting to see just the amount of work that you guys have, you know, to do with teaching. So it has been, I think I've probably got a few more gray hairs within the past couple of weeks. So, you know, thank you guys. That is definitely some hard work. And, you know, part of it, I don't know, you know, I just feel like in some of those things, there's a lesson, you know, to be taught, right? So like with some of those negative things, kind of just, you use it though to teach, you know, just what should be happening. So I have learned that these past couple of weeks as well. So yeah, but it's been interesting. But I do want to say thank you, you know, and I'm praying that this pass real soon, and you know, pray for me, because the teaching part has been challenging with, you know, these children. So thank you guys so much. Yeah.
I was cracking up because, sorry. Good.
Pretty much, yeah.
Go ahead, Lavera.
I don't know. Okay, sorry.
Okay. No.
Go ahead, Valera.
Oh, sorry. I was cracking up because on Facebook, a mom was like, I'm going to text your teacher and see if you act like this in school. And the kid's like, okay, no, like, I'm good. I got it. Like, don't do that.
I actually asked my son that the other day. I said, do you do this to her? And he's like, no, I master myself in front of her. It's like, then why can't you give me the same treatment? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Maybe it was you who put that out there. It was someone on Facebook. I was cracking up.
Gosh.
I have also said that to my son, because I'm sitting here trying to do my teacher stuff, and he's at the table next to me doing his school stuff, and he's singing loud and all over the place. And I'm like, do you do this when you're doing schoolwork? And he's like, no, we're not allowed to do this in school. I'm like, well, you're not allowed to do it here.
Well, real quick before we even get on to that. So by show of hands, right? Would it be ethical to edit out negative character traits? Would it be ethical to do that? No?
No.
Negative.
But that is a touchy topic, right? We have folks that are actually trying to do that to folks, right? So
There's also, I think, the conversation, who gets to make the decision? So if we do start deciding to edit out, or whatever you want to say, the bad stuff, who gets to decide what's bad and what gets taken away?
You know, my son mentioned something, which I don't want listeners to get kind of confused. He mentioned aggression with me. So my boys mentioned with me using aggression. They've been around, they were raised around me and work in the streets with me. They've seen some behaviors that I wish that I can take back. What I mean is trying to provide a service for people or protecting people, which are other long stories. But now that I sit back and I say to myself, you know, maybe I could have done that a different way. But then again, some things I'll be wondering, this was the only way to handle that, you know, because it worked. So, you know, just, you know, those are other long stories, but it took a lot of aggression to work in certain areas of certain parts.
But I think that's where it's like situational, right? It's absolutely situational, and that's warranted in some spaces and sometimes.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna jump into the next one here. Well, this is it. What's on the wall? Virtual teaching, is it still teaching? Do you agree or disagree with this quote? Why? What is the biggest change for you as a teacher since you've started teaching from home?
So I think from like a special ed standpoint, what has changed the most is a lot of my kids can't work independently. They need that one-to-one interaction all the time. And there's a lot of independent assignments that need to be done at home by themselves without my help. And I think that's going to be the most challenging for myself to be like, I'm going to get frustrated because I can be with them and that I can, use different, I don't like traits that I have that will make the lesson better than like me making a PowerPoint or me sitting on the computer with them for 30 minutes trying to like get a skill out to them, where they usually, my smallest group have 45 minutes with me. My largest group has 90 minutes with me, and now they only get 30. So I think my biggest frustration with all of this is how can I make my assessments and assignments usable for a student that is on a first grade level and just figuring out how to work a computer and how to do all this. So I think I'm going to need a whole week of just showing them what to do.
But you're up to the task, right? You're up to the task.
I mean, I have no choice, right?
I think to say that like it isn't still teaching would be like wrong. It's definitely still teaching. I mean, there's virtual teaching all over the place. A lot of people go to virtual schools and go to schools online. I know my niece did it for a year, where she had virtual classes. And so I think that it can be done. We just are used to being in the classroom. So we just have to change our entire mindset with it. And I think for specifically our kids, the toughest thing is, can we get them on the computer? Can we get them to sit down and do a Google Meet with us so we can do this small group? Because I think if they show up, we have some awesome teachers that can teach virtually. But I think that that's going to be the hard part. I mean, I have students that haven't logged in weeks, and it's those students that how can we reach them if they're not logging in? That's the hard part.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, McGovern.
Actually, I have seen it from the other side, because I'm watching all of the teachers put everything up, and the stuff that everybody is putting online is awesome. And so I know that we have the people to do it. It's just about getting the kids on too. So I'm not worried about our side. I'm more worried about the kids.
Boys, how's school been for you guys? Chicken Hawk.
There's a lot of work to do, and it's very hard. It takes forever.
Why would you say it's hard? Like what? Like, is it like the content, or is it just the amount?
It's the amount. I get a work overload.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Chicken Hawk. I think the expectations are a lot higher virtual teaching than in the classroom. I think the amount of work that we're assigning to the kids is a lot for them to take on week by week. I've talked to other teachers, and they have to only do 2 assignments a week or they put 1 assignment up because they want the kids to complete that 1 assignment before they roll out another skill, where we're doing that in a sense too. Like, here's Monday, here's Tuesday. Like, I get that, but I think it's a lot for us to ask them to log on every single day. My own personal thoughts.
I think that some of the kids really, I know that some of my students have reached out to me, and the parents, like, they want something to do. They want us to send them. And it's not every kid. It's like split right down the middle. Some of the kids look forward. I know my son, he looks forward to these lessons that his teacher puts on the computer. He loves them. He loves watching the videos and doing the work. And, he's still so young, so he loves that learning. But I see it in some of our, my 5th graders. They're, messaging me saying, I did the work for today. You know, one of my hardest kids that I had when we were in the classroom, when we went on break, they messaged me every single day saying, good morning, did my work today. Like, I mean, so I think that for some of the kids, it like, they want that. That gives them something to do.
Yeah, I think almost sometimes it's like taking out like the social aspect of things. Like they don't have anyone to show off for. And I think that's our clowns, right? In their classroom, right? They do that for the attention. All right, well, no one's gonna laugh at me because I'm on this thing by myself, right? So okay, I'm actually going to apply, and it's gonna be very interesting to see, right, who does that, who steps up to that, because they don't have that, outward social aspect of it.
Yeah. Elijah, how is it for you? Also, you're going to be missing out, sadly, on graduation, 8th grade graduation. How is that? How does this take a toll on you? What's the good and bad being at home?
To be honest, I think it sucks. The good, I mean, I'm chilling at home. That's all right with me. I've been getting some sleep, hibernation and all that. And then like the bad part is that when I really think on it, I've been going to the school that I've been going like for ever since I was young, pre-K. Um, and this was the year that I'm finally gonna leave the school. And so it was a lot of prep, and this was like something really big, and it means a lot to me. I'm not gonna lie on that. It means a lot, cause it means a lot to me and my friends, cause this was our final year together, growing up with each other and all that. It's our final year, and we're out to really we're really realizing like we're growing up and we're gonna be doing other stuff, and like it's time to like about a lot of us to split up. And so it's like a lot of things that were planned for us to do. We had a little trip for the 8th grade to go to Hershey Park as our final field trip together. We had a lot of stuff planned to do together, and it was just now it's like it's all ruined. Thinking about it now, can't even see them again unless it's on a computer screen. It's just kind of dumb. And so it's like I used to see them for what, 6 hours a day? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like 7,
6
yeah.
hours.
Mm-hmm.
6 hours a day. I used to stay after her, so it was even longer for some kids. So I used to spend time with them 6 hours or more a day, and now it's just like not even one text sometimes. So it's like a lot of jumbled up emotions with it, and so it's like all plans down the drain. And I'm moving on into high school, not even not being able to give a proper goodbye to any of my friends before going off, or having a real memory this year to actually like leave off with, knowing that we had an amazing time together. And so it's a lot of stuff. And on top of that, I feel like Lovey said, we've been getting too much work, especially with what's going on right now, the current events. I feel like a lot of teachers put too much work and expect too much from us, not knowing what happens at home, and that now a lot of kids went to school to escape from home about what happens there. And I feel like now for me that I'm home, I get distracted very easily. That's just me. I don't know. But I feel like a lot of teachers don't know what happens at home for a lot of kids. And so that really takes a big toll, and that especially putting amounts, stacks of work on kids, expecting a lot from them when if they might get a little bit, and not being able, and a lot of teachers may not check up on them, or I'm just saying some, but a lot. So it's like a lot of stuff. So I feel like things are just going downhill and downhill more and more by the second, if you get what I mean. I feel like school is actually the place for me, and I feel like home we should give kids the break that they need, because there's a lot that happens, and especially here in Philly, there's a lot with kids that don't get the right treatment at home, that they don't get yeah, like they don't get the right treatment. They might not be able to focus a lot, just a lot of stuff. Not probably being able to eat, or not being able to eat because the schools are closed. So there's a lot of eating stations that have been opened in some schools, but not a lot of kids that might be able to get there or have transportation now. because of this. Who knows? It's a lot of stuff. And so there's a lot of kids who aren't able to focus, I think. So I think teachers could, still learning is going to be needed, obviously, during this quarantine. Because we're going to have school shut down for the year, and you already know how kids get after one summer. So we need big reminders. So obviously learn, but I feel like we should at least do a lesson, a review, a Quizlet, something little, not no freaking 5-page essay about how quarantine's still going for you or whatever. Because I feel like that is just too much in general. One essay is too much in general.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
All right. Triggerhawk, from an introvert point of view, introvert, how's it going for you?
So, one of the assignments that I had to do it was about South America. I had to do a current event. I had 2 countries pick something, pick something that's happening, and then write 2 paragraphs about it for each country. And then my teacher said at the last minute, like on the day before we had to turn it in, she said they cannot have to do anything about the coronavirus. So everybody had to redo it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
Well, everyone, I'm gonna read a quote real quick because we're running out of time. This thing went pretty smooth, but we always end with a quote. This week, our quote comes from a parent's recent social media post. If you had asked me what the hardest part of battling a global pandemic would be, I would have never guessed that I would say teaching elementary school math. Before we go, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank our educators who are stepping up, even from home, because I understand you have families also. You have lives, and trying to teach from home is something new to many of you also. And not only that, with your personal lives, but also the personal attachment that you have to our students, to our youth in the community. I personally know the love that you all have for our children and the concerns, and also the stress that you have on you to still teach. So we applaud you. We thank you. Stetson rocks at the end of the day, and but also just giving props to all the teachers across the country who are going through the same thing, because there's nothing new for anybody else. Everyone's experiencing the same thing. So I want to wish everybody luck for this week starting, and for those listening, I hope you enjoyed. And before we go, any last 10-second messages before we go from anyone?
Well, I just want to say, I know we're home with our families, but Stetson and our students, they are part of our family too. And every year that family grows, and we're really sad that we don't get to finish the year with our family this year.
Yeah, it was crazy thinking like a month ago, we just were like, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. And then it didn't happen. But just the fact, Stetson families supporting each other, from teachers to, reaching out and supporting the families that we have in our classrooms. So we miss them like crazy for sure.
Yep, I agree with the teachers. Yeah, we miss our kids. We want to, see them come August, all ready to learn and be back in the classroom. So hopefully that happens.
Ms. Levan?
I miss the teachers. And I can say for these 3, maybe they've seen me too much in the last few weeks, but they've been awesome. And I'm glad that at least we get to communicate like this, but I really miss the people and seeing everyone.
Elijah, real quick, we got 10 seconds.
Sleep. Get rest.
All right, take a hawk. Nope. All right. Well, thank you all. I love you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
and
having me.
This is my aggression. Y'all better learn this week. All right? Yeah. Bye, everybody. Remember, the end of the show is the beginning of your conversation.
Bye. Thanks.
Take it easy. Thank you, Dylan.
Thanks.